There is a divide in the team that makes Magic the Gathering. Two sides that don't fight, but do have to push back against one another to ensure a kind of balance. On one side are the designers, who create each new card, keyword, and other mechanics for the game. On the other side is the rules team, who ensure that every new card is compatible with the rules, and create new rules for the cards that aren't. To illustrate the ongoing struggle between these two sides, we're going to look at a time where they clashed that had real consequences for the game. The difficult story behind the development of Tribal. As ever, it's a good idea to start by defining our terms. Tribal with a big T is a card type, just like instant, creature, or land. It was introduced properly in 2007 with Lorwyn, plus one card in the preceding Future Sight. A tribal card always has another card type too, and they work exactly the same way, except that they can have creature types even when they aren't creatures. What this allows for is spells like sorceries or artifacts to be associated with creature types, which means that tribal decks can suddenly do a variety of new things. For example, Elvish Hand Servant can trigger when you play Giant's Ire, because even though it's a sorcery, it counts as a giant. The intent behind Tribal was essentially to give tribal decks new tools to play with. Lorwyn was the second ever tribal set, and in the shadow of Onslaught, the set's lead Aaron Forsyth decided that it needed a marquee mechanic to push the tribal themes. He said in a preview article, "I looked for answers in a question we've all either asked ourselves or heard newer players ask. Is Goblin Grenade a Goblin card? Can I search for it with Goblin Matron?" We all know the answer to that question is sadly no. But does it have to be? That rhetorical question, but does it have to be, is not rhetorical for the rules team. Just as it's the design team's job to imagine new possibilities for the game, it is the rules team's job to rein them in a little. That might make them sound like the fun police, but they're not. They just need to make sure that the changes design wants to make are healthy for the game as a whole. Many designers, like Mark Rosewater, openly declare that while they understand the game, they do not understand the rules, which, if you think about it, is a fairly ludicrous thing to say about the game you make, but it works. We talked a little about this in the video about the historic mechanic, where Rosewater described how he didn't just sit down and figure out the exact nature of the mechanic he was creating, he just went ahead and did it, and got the rules team to figure it out after the fact. That was an example where not worrying about the rules led to a happy accident. Tribal is, in some ways, the opposite. As Aaron Forsyth tells it, once the designers had thought it up, Mark Gottlieb, the rules manager, caught wind and wrote up a 7-page document explaining why it was a horrible idea. Incidentally, I've probably never wanted anything more than I've wanted that document while writing this video. But we do have the introduction, and one of the points Gottlieb makes is that up to now, each card type has its own unique list of subtypes. Enchantments have Aura, Cartouche, Curse, Saga, and Shrine, and you can't have any of those without it also being an enchantment. This is why Urza's Saga, the card, has to be an enchantment and a land in order to have those card types. You can't have a creature curse, for example. However, like any good horror story, the design team ignored the ominous warnings of the strange man in the gas station and pressed on. These are just some of the possible suggestions for making the effect work without breaching the issues the rules team had. But in the end, anything that didn't actually have the word merfolk on it would not be compatible with older tribal cards, which was the whole point. So they went back to Gottlieb and asked if he could try again, and after a lot of hesitation, he eventually came up with the idea for a brand new card type, which, in the same way that instants and sorceries share their list of card types, would share its own list with creatures. The thing is, making a new card type is a big deal. Apart from those used in variant games, there have only ever been 2 card types added to the game from the original 6, and since Lorwyn, it's never happened again. It probably will someday. Sagas were almost their own card type, but there would have to be a really, really good reason. So for Gottlieb to do it here, as a person who is no doubt aware what a big impact it has, suggests to me that the design team really wanted Tribal to exist, and this was the only way to do it. You might at this point be wondering, why is Tribal not a super type, like Legendary or Basic? After all, it's the only card type whose name is an adjective rather than a noun, kind of, and because it always sticks with another card type, you can't have a Tribal on its own, wouldn't it make sense to make it a super type? Well, A lot of people have asked this over the years. The answer, according to a column by Kelly Diggs a few years back, is that doing so would break the rule that keeps subtypes discrete and connected to card types, which in turn prevents a whole lot of weird stuff from happening. He says that while it might seem unintuitive, making tribal a card type is actually the cleanest possible solution. Not to say it couldn't be done as a super type, just that it probably shouldn't. But then again, you have to remember that on the rules side of the divide, they thought tribal shouldn't be done at all. Nevertheless, the team went full steam ahead, printing these cards in Lorwyn and then having the card type return in the rest of that block. Then they printed it again in Rise of the Eldrazi on exactly 4 Eldrazi cards, and that's it. A tribal card has never been printed since, although by posting this before Modern Horizons 2 is spoiled, I'm probably tempting fate. But after all that work, contorting the rules to make it fit, why abandon it just 3 years after its creation? The short answer is, it just wasn't working. Though the team for Innistrad had planned to make use of it for that set's tribal subtheme, they eventually realised that it simply wasn't doing enough to justify its inclusion. Too few cards would care about, say, casting a zombie spell, and it didn't make sense to force more of them into the set just to make tribal matter. The realisation they came to, which perhaps seems obvious in hindsight, was that most of the interactions that would care about tribes cared about creatures. Wizards still make small t tribal cards, and still does tribal sets such as Ixalan, but it seems like the card type is off the table. So what are we supposed to learn from all this? Mark Rosewater called it a mistake, but what did the team learn? Maybe they learned to listen to the rules team if they say something doesn't work, but if that's true, would we have gotten historic? More broadly, if design stops pushing the boundaries of what is possible within the rules, how long will it take for the game to start getting stale? I think what they ultimately learned from Tribal goes back to the divide between the two teams. I think they learned not to fuel that divide, nor to break it down entirely, but to recognise and respect the view from the other side.